Tony Stark is a man of many talents. A self-proclaimed genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. He is a hero that has been through the wars trying to save Earth, and yet there has been times where he has made grave mistakes that threatened humanity. In this video, we will take a deep dive into how Tony Stark evolved as a person and list 20 times that Iron Man learned from his mistakes and improved things not only for himself but also for those around him. Without further ado, let's begin. Number 1. Icing Problem. Iron Man, 2008. When testing the Mark II armor, Tony decides to test just how far the suit can go and flies at an extremely high altitude. In doing so, his suit starts to freeze up due to the cold. And this is bad for a couple of reasons. Firstly, he obviously can't control his suit if it's frozen. And second, if the suit loses power, Tony too will die since his heart is connected to it. So, Tony's solution was to replace the iron platinum alloy Mark II with a titanium gold alloy Mark III. Number 2. Whiplash nearly kills Tony. Throughout the movie, Tony has to carry his Mark V suit in a briefcase, and obviously, when Iron Man can't get to his suit, it's a pretty big problem, as seen in his fight with Whiplash. Tony, however, did rectify the mistake in the 2012 Avengers movie with his Mark VII suit, because that was one suit that could be controlled from anywhere by Tony. Number 3. Tony runs out of oxygen. In the 2012 Avengers movie, Tony flies into space in one of the most iconic scenes in the MCU, diverting a nuclear warhead in his Mark VII suit into the alien warship. However, in doing so, his suit runs out of oxygen, and he almost dies as he falls back to Earth unconscious. He fixes this mistake by inventing the Nano suit that debuted in Infinity War, a suit that is able to handle outer space as seen in the movie. Number 4. Hulk loses his cool. The Hulk has had a history of losing his sense of self, and it came to the fore in the 2012 Avengers movie when the SHIELD helicarrier is attacked, and Bruce Banner transforms into the Hulk on it, chasing an injured Natasha Romanoff and nearly killing her. In order to make sure the powerful Hulk can be neutralized, Tony Stark ends up creating the infamous Hulkbuster suit and stops his terrorizing rampage in South Africa in its tracks. Number 5. Tennessee Crash Landing. In the third Iron Man movie, Tony Stark crash lands in a forest in Tennessee in the snow. It is only then that he realizes just how cold it is and how his suit actually doesn't protect him against the elements. Ever the selfless hero, Tony makes sure to add a heater in Spider-Man's suit in Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 6. Hand-to-Hand versus Steve Rogers. Civil War is one of the MCU's best movies to date, and it has some incredible moments like Captain America's melee duel with Iron Man. Steve is able to beat Tony in hand-to-hand combat, and it is only then that he realizes that there is yet another improvement he needs to make for his Mark 46 suit. Debuting in Infinity War, his Mark 50 suit has an array of melee weapons such as blades, a spear, a shield, and a ram that were shown off in the fight against Thanos. Number 7. Whiplash destroys Tony's suit. In the fight at the racetrack between Ivan Vanko and Tony, Whiplash nearly kills Tony and destroys his suit with his electrically charged whips. In order to never be beaten like that again, Tony develops the lightning-resistant Mark VI in the Avengers 2012 movie that the suit is able to withstand Thor's blows. Number 8. Rhodey's fall. In Civil War, Vision takes a potshot at Falcon, but ends up hitting Rhodey instead. Tony and Sam are unable to catch Rhodey as falls to the earth in the suit, with the fall paralyzing him from the waist down. In order to make sure that never happens again, Tony adds not only repulsive blasts to his Mark 50 suit, but also a parachute to Peter's suit and gliders to the Iron Spider suit. Number 9. Captain America outflies Tony. You'd never take Captain America for a runner, but he escapes Team Stark in Civil War by outflying Tony. Never one to be beaten, Tony decides that there is something his suits still clearly lack. So, due to that failure, Tony adds repulsive blasts to his Mark 50, allowing him to go faster in Infinity War than ever before. Number 10. Ant-Man dismantles Tony's suit. Scott Lang is able to enter Tony's suit through the tiniest of gaps, and is able to disconnect some wires to completely shut down Iron Man's prized possession. Tony realizes just how easy it was for Ant-Man to beat him, so he makes his Mark 50 suit out of nanotech, allowing for no gaps at all. Number 11. Iron Man gets kidnapped. In the very first Iron Man movie, Tony is kidnapped by the 10 Rings and taken to a cave where absolutely no one is able to find him. So, learning from this, Tony adds a GPS to Peter's Spider-Man suit in order to make sure he can be found. Number 12. Failing to secure the Gauntlet. In one of the most intense scenes in the movie, Tony tries in vain to get the Infinity Gauntlet off a rampaging Thanos. Living to see his failure once Thanos does the infamous snap, Tony decides never to let it happen again and improves upon the Mark 50 with the Mark 85, a nanite-inspired suit that allows him to swap Thanos' gauntlet with his own in Endgame in the very iconic scene. Number 13. Tony and Pepper are attacked. Whilst in Tony's Malibu mansion, him and Pepper are attacked by a literal missile through the window, and Pepper nearly dies in the attack. Tony creates the rescue suit for Pepper after seeing how vulnerable she can be, giving her her very own avenue of self-defense in Endgame. Number 14. Outnumbered by the Chitauri. Perhaps one of the more spectacular scenes in the Avengers movie is when our heroes are completely and utterly surrounded by the Chitauri. They have absolutely no numbers of their own to counter the invading army's size. So, Tony invents his very own army called Legion in Iron Man 3 in order to make sure Earth has its own army to protect it. Number 15. Stabilization problems. One of the most noticeable weaknesses Iron Man suffered from in earlier fights was the fact that he had to use blasts from his hands and feet in order to stay stable mid-air, leaving him vulnerable in the process. However, in Infinity War, he adds stabilized flight to his Mark 50 nanosuit, allowing him to focus on his opponents instead of trying to stay airborne. Number 16. Watch Blaster. When Tony is caught by his nemesis Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3, he ends up having to once again wait for his suit, so in Civil War, he makes amends by attaching a nano blaster to his watch in order to defend himself in precarious situations when he is without his suit. Number 17. Lightning redirection. During Tony and Thor's fight in the Avengers, Thor hits him with his lightning blast. Although Tony Stark's suit is able to absorb the force of the blast, he has no means of using it, prompting him to create the Mark 85 armor seen in Avengers Endgame. He adds a lightning refocuser in Mark 85 in Endgame, which was designed to collect a large quantity of Thor's lightning power and convert it into a devastating lightning blast, which he unleashes on Thanos. Number 18. Legion goes wrong. When Tony creates Legion in Iron Man 3, he does so thinking that his army of suits can defend Earth in the event of an invasion. However, he realizes that only he and Jarvis can control the army, and that could be a huge drawback. So in order to combat that, he creates Ultron. Number 19. Ultron takes over. This brings us to the next mistake. Tony creates Ultron as a countermeasure to Legion, but Ultron becomes sentient, making his mission to end humanity. However, in Ultron, Tony leaves the villain's very own nemesis, Vision. Vision kills the supervillain at the end of Age of Ultron, showing how even in the face of defeat, Tony had a backup plan. Number 20. Nanoblasters don't cut it. During the events of Iron Man 3, Tony realizes that his nanoblasters did not affect Aldrich Killian, and in later movies, the Hulk. Learning from this mistake, he invents huge blasters that separate from his suit and hold much more devastating firepower. So, which one of Tony's lessons did you like the most? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.